Hi, this is Peter. I've got a new video now I want to show you that's going to focus on all of the different functions for AVX and EVA in car mode. I realized I hadn't really done a video that focused on this aspect, and this is probably what a lot of people just use the application for, is mainly in the car, because it makes, you know, hands-free control of your phone a reality, and obviously much safer to be driving with both hands on the wheel and your eyes out the front instead of messing with your phone while you're driving. Anyway, so I wanted to show you, and I'll probably end up rambling on a little bit because there's so many different things to this, but
yes, Peter.
I'll show you here the quickest way once you're in the application to get into car mode. There's actually 3 different ways or 4 different ways you can do it. One is by default you can just swipe right on the main screen there and it'll activate it. The other one is to have this little car mode button here visible, and you can tap on that, and the other way is from the menu, where you just pop up the menu there by pressing the menu button and hit car mode. So if I do that, you'll see it switches into car mode, and it'll go back to, there's 5 different screens in car mode. You have these custom screen here, custom 2, where all of these buttons you can assign them to do whatever you want. So basically any command that AVX understands you can assign to a button, which is really handy while you're in the car, because you might want to set up a button like I've got there, text Peter. You might want to do something like text my wife I'm running late, and then all you'd have to do is bring up this screen, slide over to it and hit that button, and it'll send a text to your wife. And you could have one for different messages, to things whatever you might send on a regular basis, much faster than trying to dictate a text using the voice recognition if you know what is going to be sent ahead of time. So if we go through these other buttons here, or these other screens, you have the one here where you can make your calls. Then you can customize your favorites over there, so you could have 3 different favorites, and the other ones just take you to your regular contacts in Android, and then your regular dialer, and then the recent call list, so you can make calls from there. And then you've got your one for your music, and then the first screen there allows you to turn car mode off, to activate the wake mode, where it's always listening for the wake phrase that you have assigned. Resume navigation, which is if you're in the middle of navigating using Google navigation, that will just take you back to Google navigation. So if you've got Google navigation running and it's showing you the turn-by-turn directions, and you bring AVX to the front and you do something and then you want to go back, you just press that and it goes straight back. Screen on, that will just basically keep the screen on for you, and then you've got custom ones here that you can use at the bottom. Okay, so let me just talk about some of the things that you can do, or that AVX can do for you while you're driving along in the car. Well, first of all, it can read out text messages as they come in, and you have various different options on how it does that, whether it just announces as a text message, or whether it actually says who it's from, and then you can have it actually read out, and then also choose to ask you if you want to reply to that message, at which point it'll ask you to dictate the message and allow you to send that reply. Likewise, you can do the same thing for your email, generally Hotmail and Exchange, and you can customize other email accounts if you know the settings for those. Also, it can read your Facebook feed, and again, just choose to read only posts from those people who you're really interested in, and that's a whole nother aspect, and I have a different video on that whole feature. And likewise with your Twitter feed, you can have it read your Twitter feed, again just specifically read only posts from certain people, and also allow you to reply to those if you choose that option automatically. So you might just want to have it reading them, but you might also want it to prompt you to reply to those people. Other things that you can do, or that AVX can do for you, obviously making calls, different requests. So you might have it, maybe you have an application or just even a bookmark to bring up the local weather radar. Maybe you're driving along and you see a storm ahead and you quickly want to see what the radar is doing. You can just say open radar if you've created a bookmark to you know, the bookmark on your web browser that opens up your local radar information. Likewise, you can do your navigation requests, so anytime you wanted to say, you know, directions to such and such, you could do all that. I mean, there's all those regular functions that you can do with a regular voice assistant. And I already spoke about assigning these buttons. So say for example, you often got the radar information or weather information, you could assign that to a button like I've done, and all you have to do on these ones is just, if it's blank like this custom one, you'll just tap on that and it'll ask you for what you want as the command to run when you press that button, and then it'll ask you what you want the label to be, and once you've done that, it basically creates that button and you can go and press it any time that you want and it'll do it. And I'll do an example of that in a little while. The other thing I want to talk about with car mode is it allows you to choose a different font size. So when you activate something here, or when a message comes in, I'll just show you here when it switches back to the main text screen.
Yes, Peter.
Let's cancel that. You'll see that font size was much bigger. So if a text message comes in, it'll pop to that screen. It'll not only read the text message, but it'll put it on the screen, and because the font's bigger and you're driving in the car, it's actually easy to read it. If you have to glance over to see something, it's much easier to read it because that font's bigger, and you can choose exactly what font size you want for car mode. One of the other neat things that you can do is, if you're using third-party voices, like I use the one from SVOX, you can set up, if you have multiple voices, you can have one voice for when AVX is in one mode or regular mode, and then you can have a different voice for when AVX is in car mode. And I've actually got mine set up so in the regular mode it uses the English Grace voice, which is US English, and then in the car mode it uses the Victoria voice, which is a British accent. So you'll see when it's talking to me now that you're going to hear the British accent because we're in car mode right now, and it switched to that voice. So one of the other things I wanted to show you, and I've done a video on this before with the NFC tags, if you have a Galaxy S3 or any other phone that can read the NFC tags, you can assign the tags to do any type of function that AVX can understand. In fact, you can have it do multiple functions. So perhaps when you're taking your phone into your car, you don't want to have to mess with it to switch it over to car mode, but you just want to quickly switch it over. What I've done in my car, I have one of these tags just stick to my dash, and I wave my phone in front of it, and I've got it set up to open Pandora, so my music starts playing, and then I've got it set to bring up this custom screen here, so I have access to the buttons that I use most of the time while I'm driving. And you can bring up these custom screens here just by executing a command that says the name of the screen, which custom 2 or custom 1, or in the other case of the other ones, you've got the calls or music in the regular car mode, so you can run a command that does any of those commands and it will bring up that screen. So let me show you how quickly you can assign one of these NFC tags to do this.
Yes, Peter.
Write a new tag.
Please tell me the first command of the new tag you would like to write.
Open Pandora.
Select the item you would like for this command. I have added this command. Say the next command or say cancel or done.
Custom 2.
Select the item you would like for this command. I have added this command. Say the next command or say cancel or done.
Done.
Please now hold the tag to the back of your device for 2 seconds without moving it so I can write it. Your tag has been written.
Okay, so I've created this tag now, and it's going to open up Pandora and open up that custom 2 screen, which in effect turns car mode on. So if I go out of car mode here, which you can just do that by popping up the menu, and that'll automatically take us out of that. And then if I just go to my regular screen here, this is how you would be, say, when you're just about to jump in the car. Now, one thing about the NFC tags, your screen has to be on and unlocked in order for it to read a tag. So let's say you have this tag up on your dash and you jump in your car, you hit your power button just so the screen comes on, and if you have the screen lock on, you obviously have to swipe it as well, and then all you have to do is just do this.
Launching Pandora.
So there you can see it started Pandora in the background, and it's automatically turned on car mode and brought up the custom 2 screen here. So there the music's playing. So I actually have another button here to go to Pandora.
Opening Pandora.
And I'll just pause that. And one of the other functions, a quick way of getting back to AVX or EVA when you know that you have car mode active, is just basically wave your hand in front of the proximity sensor, and it's obviously at the top of the screen there. So I'll just wave it.
Yes, Peter.
Just cancel that. So you can see that's as quick as what you need to do to bring the screen back to the front. So if you kind of use AVX as your main menu for doing different things on your phone while you're driving, all you have to do is wave your hand in front of the phone there, and it'll bring back the screen to your custom mode. You have access to all your buttons there where you can make your calls, and of course you can do regular requests where you're say call somebody or whatever. One thing I've noticed with this particular Galaxy S3 phone is the microphone on this is a little bit more sensitive than what it was on my Droid X, and so it hears even the noise of the air conditioner fan running in my car. It hears that, and so it takes a little while longer before it actually stops listening once you say a command. So I might say open Pandora as a command, and then I'd see the microphone here would be sort of flashing green, or the button here would be flashing green like it's still listening or still hearing something, and it will take a while to time out. And the Droid X didn't do that. It was actually better with respect to how it would cancel noise in the background. So that's where having these buttons really comes in handy in the car, just to assign them to whatever you want. So anyway, let's see, what else did I want to talk about here? Okay, I want to show you how, if you're a new user to AVX, some of the things that you would do initially to set up AVX so it can access your contacts, because obviously everybody wants to be able to text and call their contacts, and some people have had problems with that, and that's basically because the way contacts work on Android and the way the groups and stuff work, it's a little bit sort of confusing to start with. So this is a little bit outside the scope of this tutorial, but I think it would be handy for people who are brand new to AVX. So the first thing that you want to do once you get AVX installed on your phone is see if AVX can see your contacts. So how you would do that?
Yes, Peter.
Display my contacts.
The contacts are displayed.
So
to have me name them, just ask.
If you see all of the regular contacts that you know would exist in your address book on your phone, then you're good to go. You don't need to do anything. But if you see a lot more contacts, or you don't see the right contacts, then what you need to do is you're going to need to experiment with changing what the default group is that AVX is using. And these are groups in Android that group your contacts together. So how you would do this?
Yes, Pete.
Display my available groups.
The groups are displayed. Tap on the one you want to be the default. Only contacts in this group will be used. Clear the default by tapping on it if you want to use all your contacts.
So you do have to say the word available, so you say display my available groups. If you just say display my groups, it will list them but won't allow you to choose the default. And when you tap on one in that case, it will show you the contacts in that group. So by default, AVX will choose my contacts as the default group, and for most people that will work, but in some cases the way your phone is configured, you may not have all of your groups set to that system group, my contacts. So you'd have to come in here, and you have two different options here. One is you can just choose a different group if you know which one your contacts are all in, and the other one is you can actually tap on the group that is already the default, and that would deselect it as the default, thereby having no default. And in that case, when you say display my contacts, it's going to see all of the contacts on your phone, regardless of which group they're in. And one of the things that happens on Android phones is if you're using Gmail a lot and you're receiving and sending email messages to people who are not in your contacts list, Gmail will automatically create a contact record for that person and just put their name and email address on that contact record. And if you get emails from random people and you're replying to them, whatever, you're going to have a whole bunch of contacts in there, and I've got loads of them in there because of all the emails I get supporting AVX. And you may not want to be having to address all those, because remember, all the contacts that are visible when you say display my contacts, those are the ones that AVX knows about when you're saying call somebody or text somebody. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is you probably have some contacts where people have the same first name, and obviously pretty much everybody's going to have that. So let me show you an example of that.
Yes, Peter.
Display contacts called Dave.
The contacts containing Dave are displayed. To have me name them, just ask.
Okay, so I've got 4 contacts named Dave there. So if I'm going to say text Dave, it's always going to show me up these contacts and allow me to choose which one. And one thing that you'll find with the Google voice recognition, it's not very good at getting people's last names, especially if they have interesting spelling, like for example this last one here. I mean, there's just no way voice recognition is going to get that right. So I provided a couple of different options. First of all, if you have contacts here that you're never going to text or you're never going to call from your phone, you can just swipe on that contact and it'll set that person to ignored. And if you swipe again, it'll set that person to priority. And if you swipe again, it'll set them back to just default. If they're ignored, then that contact may as well not even be in that group. It's just going to not list it. It's never going to show it. And anytime you say text that first name, it's not going to give you that person as an option. If you have priority, that's a little bit different, and I've described that in another video, but just quickly, that means that if you have your text messages set to be held, so they're not going to be read, or if it's an email and you have the email set to be held because maybe your phone is on silent mode or something, if you have somebody set to priority, that will ignore the fact that your messages are being held and the message for that particular person will come through. A really handy sort of way of doing things. Now the other way that you can have it find the right person when you want to text or call somebody is by assigning a nickname to that person. So then you would actually use the nickname instead of using their first name. So let me give you an example. Let's just say you just got married, okay, and you want to set up your wife as a new contact. So let's do that.
Yes, Peter.
Create a new contact.
What is the first name of this new contact?
Jane.
Select the item you would like for the first name. At any point on the following prompts, you can say done to complete the contact or cancel to quit. What is Jane's last name?
Smith.
Select the item you would like for the last name. When saying phone numbers, please say each digit. Do not use 100 for 800. What is Jane's home phone number or skip?
Skip.
What is Jane's work phone number or skip?
Skip.
What is Jane's cell phone number or skip?
800-555-1212.
What is Jane's email address or skip?
Jane@gmail.com.
Select the item you would like for the email address. What is Jane's street number and name or skip?
Done.
To confirm you want to create a contact named Jane, please say create contact.
Create contact.
I have created new contact Jane Smith.
Okay, cancel that.
Yes, Peter.
Cancel that. So we've created Jane's contact record, and in a minute I'm going to go and assign my actual cell phone number to that number instead of that 800-555 one that I did. So actually I can actually use it to send some text messages, and obviously I don't want everybody to see what my cell phone number is. Okay, so once you've done that, now the next thing, if you would step through the rest of that, eventually it would have got to asking you what the nickname is you want to call that person. So, but in most cases you probably already have your contact set up, but now you want to create a nickname, so that's why I didn't do it then. I'm going to do it now. So let's see.
Yes, Peter.
Display Jane.
Details for Jane Smith are as follows. Name. Yes, Pete.
Change her nickname.
What is Jane Smith's new first name?
Jane.
Select the item you would like for the first.
Okay,
what is Jane's new last name?
Smith.
Select the item you would like for the last name. Jane Smith has been successfully updated.
Change her nickname.
What is Jane Smith's new nickname?
My wife.
Select the item you would like for the nickname. Jane Smith has been successfully updated.
Okay, so now we've got that in there. I could say text my wife or call my wife, and it would use the record for Jane. So that's how you set up a nickname for somebody. And again, if I display her details.
Yes, Peter.
Display my wife.
Details for Jane Smith are as follows. Name.
Okay, I'll just interrupt that. Okay, so now it recognizes Jane as my wife. Okay, so let's see. Next thing I want to do is, well, let me just cut off here for a second and I'll go and adjust that number, and then I'll go back into car mode and we'll start the next section. Okay, so I changed that number, and actually how I did that was I just said change her mobile number, because she was already selected as the contact I was working with because I had displayed her details, and AVX just prompted me for the number, and I've just changed that number, and I've changed it to my cell phone number here. So if I text her, the number used is obviously my cell phone, and the message will come back to the cell phone. So now I want to show you how you can assign one of these buttons. I'll reuse this weather one, and I'm going to do it to set it up to text a message to my wife to say I'm running late. So when you want to reassign one of these buttons, you just long press on it and it'll allow you to reassign it. If you want to use it, you just press on it once. So let's long press this one.
Please say the new actual command or phrase you want me to assign to this button. For example, what's the weather? Say cancel if you don't want to assign a new command.
Text my wife I'm running late.
Please choose the best match for the command for this button or select the lot. Please say the name you want on this button. Please use 1 or 2 words at most to allow it to fit.
Running late.
Please choose the best match for the name of this button or select. I have checked this command and it looks okay, but you will need to test it by pressing the button. Okay, in a few seconds that'll pop back to the regular car mode screen, and you'll be able to see that that running late has been assigned to that button, and I'll press it and test it and make sure that it's working. So there you can see running late. So now let's say we're driving along, got stuck in traffic or whatever, and I don't want to take my eyes off the road, otherwise I'm going to end up getting into a fender bender with people in front of me. So I'm on the screen already, and maybe all I have to do is hit my home button there to wake up the screen, or wave your hand in front and wait for it to come back to the screen, and then I just have to press the button. Your message has been sent to Jane Smith. Okay, so the message is gone, and if we wait here, because that's the same number as my number, that message will be read out just like any incoming message is, how AVX handles your incoming text messages. New text received from Jane Smith. Would you like to hear the message? Yes. I'm running late. Would you like to reply to this message? Yes. New message to Jane Smith. Go ahead. Okay, no problem. Okay, no problem. Done. Your message sent to Jane Smith.
Okay, because I've got my contact record and her contact record in my phone with the same number, it thinks that that message actually came from her where it actually came from me, and that's basically because of the confusion created on that. But normally she would receive a message and it would say that it was from me because it has my cell phone number on it. So anyway, that's what that confusion is for there. But I showed you there how I replied completely hands-free, and in a second here that reply that I sent will come back through and it'll be read as well, and then I'll just stop it there and won't do any more on that. You can choose all sorts of different options on what is done with that message.
New text received from Jane Smith. Would you like to hear the message?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. Would you like to reply to this message?
No.
Okay.
Alright, so like I was saying, you can choose all sorts of different options on how it handles those messages, and I mentioned that at the start of this video. You could have it just, say for example, when you're in car mode, maybe you don't want it to prompt you to reply all the time, maybe you just want it to read out the messages when they come in, because you don't want to fuss with trying to reply. Or say for example, if you're using a Bluetooth headset while you're in the car and you do want to reply, because it does, the audio picks up really well with your Bluetooth headset compared with your phone, then it will read it out through the Bluetooth headset if you have that connected and active, and replying is really easy then because the noise cancelling in the headset is really good. And I use the Jawbone Era and it actually works really well. I also have the Motorola 8730, which is the older mono one, and that works pretty well as well. And I've had reports from a lot of people who are truck drivers and they really like all these features, and they have to use a Bluetooth headset with all the noise that they have in their cab. So definitely if you're going to be texting a lot while you're driving or receiving text messages, you probably want to use a Bluetooth headset. And the way it's configured is it still play your music out, and I plug my headphone thing in, which runs in through my stereo in my car, and it plays the music out through that. And the audio from AVX speaks over the stereo as well in the car, but the microphone is picked up from the Bluetooth headset. So I've got a nice big loud in the car over the stereo there, but for listening, but speaking through the Bluetooth headset. Okay, so let's see, what else did I want to show you? The same thing, if a new tweet comes in, it'll say the same thing. Oh, a new tweet from so-and-so, and it'll read out the tweet, which is kind of neat. So maybe you're driving to work and you want to hear any tweets that are coming from your people that you're following. On same with Facebook, it'll read those out. And obviously email works exactly the same as text messaging, except in the case of email, it allows, or it will read out the subject as well, because obviously that's the difference between email and text messaging. You've got the subject there, and if it's a long email, it'll read it out kind of in paragraphs and ask you for more, or ask you to reply or just say stop or whatever, and it won't read anymore. So there's a bunch of different things that you can do there. Let's see, what else did I want to talk about? Okay, what I didn't cover up to now was talking about the wake mode function. Everybody asked, can you truly use AVX hands-free? And yes, you can. And in the car, if you're running your charger, it's actually a good place to do it. That's what this wake phrase button is for here. I have this, and by default, AVX is the same, where the wake phrase that you have to say is "Hey Android." And you can change that in the settings. Just open up the settings and go into the wake section and tap on the wake phrase there, and it'll prompt you for a new wake phrase. So what you would do is, if you're in the car and maybe you're not like me, maybe you don't play music while you're in the car and you're just wanting to use the wake phrase, you can just turn this on, and now it's actually constantly listening for that wake phrase. And because it sort of listens to what you're saying, you need to kind of stop for a second, let it complete listening to whatever you've been saying or whatever the noise is. Like for example, me talking right now, it's listening for the wake phrase, and if I just say it in mid-sentence here, it's not going to detect it. I have to actually stop talking, wait for a second or two for it to reset, and then say it again. So let's give it a try, and I'll just ask for the weather after that. And you can see down the bottom there where it says I am listening, and every time it changes over to determine what I've said, it'll say working on it, so you know it's kind of working there. So anyway, let's just wait a second and then I'll activate it and I'll ask for what the weather is. Hey Android.
Yes, sir.
What's the weather?
The current conditions for Clinton at 1 p.m. are sunny with a temperature of 66.
Okay, I'll just stop that from speaking. So you can see basically, and it's listening again now for that. So you could just be driving along and wanting to just, you know, get your phone's attention and just say, for example, I'll give me another example here. Hey Android.
Yes, Peter.
Call my wife.
To confirm that you want me to call Jane Smith's mobile number, please say, confirm.
Cancel.
I have cancelled this call.
Okay, that would have just timed out on itself. So as you can see there, you could quite easily hands-free just say the wake phrase and then call somebody. Generally, like I suggested before, try saying call their first name and or use a nickname just to avoid confusion. I mean, like I said, in the car with the noise and that and voice recognition not doing a very good job of understanding last names, you're just much better off using a nickname or the first name. So let me just turn that wake mode off there. So that's how you can use the wake mode to activate the phone, and you saw on that particular call, I've got call confirmation on, and you could set that off if you didn't want to have to be prompted to call that person. And again, if you look through the help in that, you see if you got a person's home, work and mobile numbers, you could say call my wife at home or call my wife on mobile, and it'll choose which number. If you don't say that, it's going to ask you which number you want to use to call on there. And also in the phone numbers for a person, if you swipe right on a phone number, that becomes the default number for that person. And also if you have multiple email addresses for somebody, you can swipe right on that, on the email address you want as their default. And if you're emailing that person, it'll use that email address by default instead of sending it to all of their email addresses. So anyway, I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. And so really what you can see, the whole idea of this is just to make hands-free texting, calling, email, Facebook, Twitter. Just want to basically make it all a lot easier to use in your car on your Android phone and make things a lot safer, so you're not getting into an accident because you're taking your eyes off the road. And I don't recommend using this all the time, but if you've just got it reading out your text messages for you or reading out your Facebook or Twitter while you're driving, I'm sure that's quite fine. It's just the same as listening to the radio, not taking your eyes off the road, and you're not losing a lot of concentration. So anyway, I hope you enjoy using the features that I've put in here, and if you have suggestions for more things to add, then always let me know. If you have any problems, also let me know. Thanks very much.